This is going to be recorded, just so you guys know. If you guys have any questions, it's a benefit of you guys being here live. You can throw them in the trading class chat. These will be, limited to 15 to 30 minutes or so, just so it's not long. I mean, it's so hard to, carve aside like an hour, like some of our live event analysis are, aside to watch these classes. And so these will be kind of short and sweet and to the point. If you guys do have questions, just make sure they're related to the topic. And let's get this week started, guys. Can you guys see my screen okay? See the trends here? Just give me a heads up on that just before I start going, so we make sure that this is all recorded and good to go. Yeah, okay, cool. All right, momentum trades, guys. Let's talk about them. I mean, there's really three plays, and they always switch. I feel like the current meta, it just depends on where we're at, right? Like all those outside economic indicators we talk about, the different trends that happen in NFT space. So you have, momentum plays, you have secondary plays, where you're just looking for those swings and entries and exits. And then you have whitelist, mint, flip, right? And so you kind of have like those three, and sometimes all three of them are fire, right? Like it just depends, how the market is, but since we're in the bear market right now, it kind of flips and flops in between. And right now, I firmly believe we're in a momentum era and a momentum meta. And what I mean by that is, you just look at these trending, projects that are showing up, and there's not much volume, right? Like if you look at the top three, even this is really, really light. And you look at the rest of the trending, I mean, normally you wouldn't see trending projects with one sale in front of Icy Tools or in front of, Alpha Sharks magically, so volume's just super light right now. And so you have to go where the volume is. And right now it's all in these, trending plays, top three trending plays. And what you have to do is look for, first of all, I like to go to the 24-hour volume. And if you look at the 24-hour volume, it sorts it by the amount of sales. All right, and you can kind of see the volume, which again, this is all pretty low, but it's all we got, right? So we have to work with what we got. I mean, that's one of the things I talk about in Alpha Camps is, man, let's make money in the bear. Let's make money in the bull. Like there's no excuse not to make money. And I always hate the excuse of, hey, NFT volume sucks, and so people will walk away or not be interested. But, if you know what you're doing, you can make money no matter what the market is. And so my goal right now is to help you guys make some money in this bear market. So if you look at Chirp, let's look at this. I mean, I know nothing about this project. Usually in the mornings I'll come and look at the 24-hour volume just to see what's cooking. I saw a few of you mentioning this XXP or Pepe, whatever, how you pronounce that. I saw this was in there. So I kind of saw this yesterday a little bit trending. I wasn't doing a whole lot of trading. I saw this llama picks. I think that ran up to 0.03 or whatever. So, some of them I'm looking, it looks familiar, but let's just look at Chirp here. Again, I know nothing about this project. I assume that it's, minted fairly soon. As we talk about, right? Like when things mint out and volume's hot, that's your best opportunity to flip and make some ETH. The further away you get from mint, the older this chart gets on a new project, the riskier it gets, okay? Now, that said, this is a momentum play right now, right? You saw that the last 24 hours, it has more sales than any other project in the NFT space. And so it's worth putting some eyes on it. And so I usually pop in here and just look at where the chart is, right? Obviously, it was very heavy in the beginning. And we incorporate what we've learned, right? The first pump, the U-shaped pattern, V-shaped pattern. And we also, since there's lots of volume, we look into that 4 stages of price movement, right? You see it unfold all the way across. Basically like into a stage 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2. So you see this unfold. And the most important thing here, again, is volume. So if you're seeing a ton of secondary sales, and it looks like it got really, some really good volume there, and it starts to kind of die out. But now that it's retraced, had another pump, right? And now that's retracing, you're like, okay, volume's died off, but this is maybe a decent entry point if volume starts to pick up. And so another thing I like using is going into, I know we got some more North founders here, which is awesome. So let's pop them up into the North app and just see, hey, are they, announcement driven? What's creating these pumps? Like we can actually go to this announcement and see what they're up to. And so now you can kind of do some due diligence, right? Like just do some research. Let's go find out what Chirp is all about. Here they're just kind of bragging there, flexing a little bit, which nothing's wrong with that. This to me tells me they're likely a pretty organic following since there's only 708. And we've talked about this before too, right? Where there's some projects that would never trend on top in 24-hour volume and they have 40,000 followers. They have 708. And so you can't always take that with a grain of salt, right? And so, yeah, I'll just kind of go through here and get the overall vibe, get an idea of what kind of art it is, and maybe go back in here and find out, is there some smart money involved here? And this isn't the only tool for this, right? There's lots of tools out there where you can kind of see, like, is there smart money buying this? Is there some whales? Is, blue chips? And so this breaks it down every, 10 minutes or so. And, we can see how many blue chips there are involved, right? Looks like we got 3 whales that are still in the project. Blue chips kind of went down a little bit. Smart money's kind of staying in there. We got 451 wallets that are smart in here. And you got a 5,000 supply. So that's actually not too bad, right? And that kind of proves it there with the next blue chip probability. And so at this point, I'm not buying, but it's definitely got my attention, right? Like this would be something where you'd probably want to throw, and I'm going to do it right now. Let's just throw on notifications. Let's follow it, and let's just see if there's another announcement or something that comes out. Maybe you start seeing in alpha groups now, right? So this is another variable to look for. So, go to your favorite alpha call channels and just see if they've called it before or if they're going to call it again. Because if you have these alpha callers that have massive influence and lots of servers, you can create this catalyst that we always talk about, right? Because what this needs right now is a catalyst. It needs something to get volume back and make it front of, IC tools and get it to trend, okay? So that's one way I'll look to see for, these momentum plays. Let's go back to trending. You can always look at these as well. This is what's selling right now, right? And it's always fun to trade. I enjoy, jumping into these DGen plays sometimes and just playing the charts, right? And so I know nothing about these, but I do know that, volumes, it's has the eyes of the entire NFT space because it's trending number 1. What do you guys think? You think we're buying right here? Hopefully everyone's saying no. You got the 4 stages of price movement, right? And so we wait for a retrace to get back in. And you like to see bigger swings, because this is at 0.024. And you have a few levels of support here at 0.01, which, 0.01 is not a bad flip. Anything less than that, depending on gas, is not a whole lot. But this is just something to keep an eye on. And this is also something where, I'm never going to buy here. Like, even if this just jumps up, up to 0.1, I'm not going to kick myself for not buying it right here. Okay. You never want to be buying when it's in stage 2. Okay. It's on its way up. And of course it can run way, way, way up. But why risk it? It's just a gamble. Like, this is just like minimizing your risk, guys, right? Like, you want to minimize your risk, and the best way to minimize your risk is to buy it on a retrace. So volume was great here. And it had some retraces. So it kind of went sideways here. We talk about that, the accumulation, and it starts pumping, right? And so if you love to degen and you love to get into these momentum plays, you can simply just hang out in trending all day, right? And just diving in, and I'm not going to do it here, but just diving into their Twitter, diving in to see what kind of wallets are associated with it, diving in to see if announcements are, creating this catalyst for the pump. And so, again, treating these as tokens. I don't care what Odd Boy is. I don't care what Nakamapes are. Nakamigos, we all know them. Realm Hunter, they've been around for a little bit here. And, so you see these things like this project, I did videos last week and they were trending. And look at where they're at, 0.1, right? So this is a great example of a momentum play. Let's look them up. And what I mean by momentum is just exactly what it sounds like, right? You got a ton of momentum with volume. You have tons of secondary sales. It's just top of mind. And so, yeah, I think we talked about this last week at some point. And it's kind of been hovering around here. So this wouldn't be a bad project. Now that volume is picked up, floor price is going up, maybe let's do a little bit of research on this and see what do they have in store. Are they going to have any kind of catalyst to get this rolling in volume again? Because it looks like it's just having these random pumps, right? And so these are great 4 stages of price movement. It's been pretty consistent. It's been going from 0.1 down to 0.07. So if you look at these support levels and the initial pump excluding, you had it hit the support level there. You had it hit one time here. And you got to give it some leeway, right? Remember, these are NFTs, and so there's not many owners. And so right around, I'd call support levels right around, 0.075 to 0.08, somewhere around there. And so you can have an opportunity for a 0.02 profit with this project because it's hitting support levels once, twice, 3, 4, 5. So we've hit it 5 times, maybe close to 6 times, which, this would be a great opportunity for a flip. Okay, so if it retraces back down and it starts running sideways again, right around 0.075, 0.08 or somewhere around there, that would be your buy zone, right? And wait for it to jump back up and list it right away. You can see also here where it dips back down, 0.12 or so, 0.1, don't get greedy. Look to see where it went last, 0.11 or so. Did it again here. So you guys can see it keeps testing this and it just keeps retracing from it. Did it again here, right? So you can see all these patterns, and I actually really like the way this chart looks. And so this would be something I'd put on my watch list for a momentum play. Wait for it to retrace down. Buy in, especially with gas, is reasonable. ETH is pumping today. So I hope this makes sense with trying to find these momentum plays. And, I think it's important to have a certain amount of ETH. I talked about it with wallets. Just having some ETH set aside each week for, these trending momentum flip plays. It makes it fun, it's no fun just to sit at a screen all day and just look at trending and never, put some skin in the game, so, most of my ETH is allocated to these secondary plays, but I also allocate ETH for fun, and a lot of this is gambling too, right? A lot of this is gambling, these momentum plays that you know nothing about tend to be a little bit more risky, but if you find certain projects that are showing these trends, it makes it less risky, right? So the volume is what makes it the least risky, okay? As long as there's a ton of volume, it's a safer bet than something that there's no secondary sales at all. And so this would be something, and these are ugly as hell, but if you dive into the project a little bit though, go to their website, go to their Twitter, and just paint that story that I talked about. And so now you have the trading mechanics down. You're understanding the 4 stages of price movement. Now, let's find to see if there's going to be that catalyst to get this to pump again. And make sure you list. I can't stress the importance of that too. Don't wait to list and volume dies off and you list it way too aggressive. Like, hey, I'm going to list this at 0.2, and then you have in real life stuff and it pumps back up to 0.1 and then you missed out. Sorry guys, I've been dealing with allergies, man. It's just Southern California's just been lots of rain, lots of pollen in the air. So I hope this makes sense. I'm going to check in here to see if we have any questions. Feel free to throw them in here if you guys have questions specifically regarding momentum plays. I really do think this is the current meta and, one of the fastest ways to make ETH right now. The secondary plays are also really good plays. There's lots of great entries. We talked a little bit about them yesterday with the Valhallas and, even the D Labs, it's just not going to, there's not just like a ton of volume and they're just going to be patience plays. Patience pays off big time in this space. And so you just have to be patient for it and trust the project. You got to trust the community. You got to trust the charts and just wait for these to play out. But, anything in this range isn't bad, guys. 0.5, 0.65. You can set some offers out there. You can start to see some people buying with stuff way over the floor. Just quick alpha. I always like to give a little bit of quick alpha. Definitely, this is a... excuse me. Jeez Louise. So this is very trait driven. And one way to protect yourself from the floor is to buy highly sought after traits. Okay. I do that with Rango a lot, where the traits hold a stronger floor than the bottom of the floor does. So there's lots of different traits in Valhalla, but one of the easiest ones is just looking to see, because there's humans, mech, toxic, demon, eternal, right? So just kind of rolling through here and seeing them. You can see there's 85% of them are humans, right? And you look to see, okay, I've been actually looking at the mechs because these tend to swing trade up to close to 0.9, 1 ETH, somewhere around there when they start releasing information and news and mechanics about the game. And so what do you think is going to happen if the floor itself swing trades back up to 0.9? These mechs are going to be way over that. And so, there's obviously gold traits and stuff like that take off. Here's another one with the toxic down at 0.7. So think outside the box, guys. I know we have a sticker about it, but, think outside of it. Don't think the way everyone else thinks. You can, even though the floor price tanked in Valhalla, the ones I own have not, right? Like the floor stayed strong on some of these traits. And so become an expert on some of these traits. And you can see, look at it. People are buying. 3 days ago, someone bought one for 8 ETH, right? And so the volume tends to be pretty consistent in Valhalla, and there's some massive whales in there. And so you just see one right here. Look at it, rank 279, 5 ETH. There's some big money in this project. So with secondary plays, if the floor is suffering, do a little research on the traits and figure out which ones are highly sought after, and you'll notice that if the floor price continues to go down, yours isn't, because the trait is holding that floor rock steady. All right, guys, and this is just a short and sweet video about momentum trades. I'm going to do one on swing trades. I'm going to do one on whitelist mint flip. I'm going to continue just to keep pumping stuff out, and momentums can also change as well, right? So I'll continue to do more classes on momentum trades. But yeah, that 24-hour volume, I always like that. That should be the first thing you check when you're whenever you wake up, wherever you are in the world. Just find out what's been hot the past day, and is the volume still kicking out? Is it still pumping out? Has it died off? Because sometimes you'll see them trending in the top 24 hours, and it was all upfront volume based off of mint. All right, and so most of that volume, most of those sales happen in the very, very beginning, and then they just fade away like everything else does, right? And so you want to make sure that volume's still strong, like this one, right? This is another one I like to see. Just look at all that green. Red too, it doesn't matter. Red just means they're undercutting and listing lower than they originally listed for. But you just want to see volume, right? And so you can kind of see how it's got this 4 stages of price movement, a little bit lower, or a little bit less. Nice little pump there. Volume's kind of upticking again, retracing a little again. So, get in there and do a little research, right? Find out a little bit more about this project. I know nothing about it, but I do know that it's pumping out a good amount of 24-hour volume. And because, and it's top 3. So these aren't bad to look at. I might get into this one. If it retraces back down, you can make a quick little 0.02 possibly. Another thing too, just to keep an eye on, how many sales are above the floor. You're seeing a consistent amount of that. I mean, looks like they revealed pretty quickly. And so another way to protect you from the floor is sniping a rare, right? You can do that magically just by sorting by rank. And you can do these in a whole lot of tools as well, right? And you can just see, since there is a lot of sales above the floor, that it's valued, right? For this project, not all projects it is valued, but it is here. And so you can just kind of roll down. I mean, top 100 is obviously ideal, but you got to rank 102 at 0.19, and these have pumped to 0.13. So just things to consider, right? And I don't know, again, this is something where you got to go do your own due diligence and find out, like, do rankings mean anything for this project? Is there some sort of staking mechanic? Is there, just do some research and find out? Or is it just the fact that people think the lower rank ones are cool, but they're selling off secondary, so it has my attention, right? And just another way, again, to protect yourself from the floor, because if this dumps down to all the way down here to 0.03 again, maybe a certain trait is still hanging high, right? But yeah, I mean, this isn't bad. 4 days and it's still kicking out consistent volume. So this would be something, once I'm done this class, I'll probably go and just do a little more research to see. And if I like what I see, I'll try to make an entry somewhere right around here. Wait for it to retrace. Things are always going to retrace, guys. And so we always joke about, buying the top, selling the bottom. Definitely use, Magically is free, right? There's free tools out there to show you when there's the next retrace. Nakamigos has been kind of, ever since that little teaser from 10KTF, it's been kind of just holding steady right around 0.7, 0.8, somewhere around there. Let's take a look to see. Yeah, so we had a nice little retrace down here. Other factors too. I'm going to be writing an education post on this, but just looking at listings, looking at walls. If I were to buy this, how many sales would it take for me to at least make, say 0.1 ETH? Because when you're investing a little bit more, burger money is just, I don't know, I feel like it's not as worth it. Let's look for like a 0.1 profit here. So if I bought in at 0.77, how many sales to get to 0.87? It looks like there's 197 to get there. All right. So we've talked a lot about this project. It's just one of those things where if you have some gambling money, because this is obviously a lot more riskier than the XX project I was just showing you, where they're under 0.1. And so this is still considered a risk. It could dump, it could pump. Looks like it's falling up. So what do you guys think? You think we're buying right now? No, man. It's in stage 2 right now. What do you think is going to happen when people make their 0.1? They're gonna dump, right? Make their 0.1 profit, and it's going to retrace. So don't buy in stage 2. Even if this, again, going back and reiterating, if this pumps to 1 ETH, who cares? Don't ever buy in stage 2. Find another project that's in stage 1. How about that instead, right? Don't buy in stage 2. or 3. Wait for it to come down, and 4, and get back to 1. Yeah, so I'm not sure if you, Dr. NFT, if you just joined us, but yeah, I mean, one of the things I like to see if there's, if the wallets, if the whales and the blue chips and the smart money's moving up, there's different tools that can do the same thing here. I want to see if, social media is helping this pump. I like to go back and look at the walls that we talked about. I mean, I don't care if this retraces, like, if there's like 500 sales to make 0.02, I'm not gonna buy. I mean, it's just impossible to make some ETH, right? So the walls are really important. If you have these massive walls, I mean, look at this, has 90 listings to get to 0.1 ETH after all these, right? So, and as it gets closer, or if it gets closer to 1 ETH, what do you think is going to happen here? This is just going to keep going up and up and up. And we talk about it a lot, but it's just very difficult to get past 1 ETH, get past 0.1, get past 0.2. I mean, when projects get past those, then it looks really, really good. All right, guys, a few more questions, and then I'm going to wrap this up. Just because we're recording, if you guys ever want to carry, like after I stop recording, if we want to carry on some combo, we can keep it in here on the trading class chat. And but hopefully this was valuable to you guys. We're going to do these again for those of you just joined us. We're going to be doing these kind of more impromptu and record them so that everybody, no matter where you are in the world, gets a chance to read them. All right. Yeah, Connor, let me take this off. I'm gonna stop recording here. Just give me 1 sec, guys.